It started like any ordinary flight. Passengers boarding, luggage rolling, polite greetings echoing through the cabin. But what happened next would leave everyone speechless. A young flight attendant, full of attitude and ego, approached a calm, soft-spoken African man seated quietly by the window. She didn't recognize him. She didn't care. With a dismissive tone and sharp words, she snapped, "Sir, you're not allowed to sit here. Move." What she didn't realize was that the man she just embarrassed in front of everyone was no ordinary traveler. He was President Ibrahim Traoré, the revolutionary leader of Burkina Faso. A man who commands respect on global stages, feared by corrupt powers, and loved by millions for standing up against neo-colonialism. In that moment, the plane became a stage, and what unfolded next would shock every passenger and humble the arrogant crew. So buckle up, sit back, and enjoy this soul-lifting story. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel for more powerful, emotional, and jaw-dropping stories that will leave you inspired. Flight attendant, firmly, standing in the aisle. "Sir, I've asked you twice already. This section is for business class passengers only." Ibrahim Traoré, seated calmly, eyes steady. "Just heard you." And I responded, "This is my seat." Flight attendant, sighs, voice colder now. "We've had passengers try to sneak up here before. I'm not trying to argue, but I'm going to have to ask you to go back to economy. Right now." Passenger in 2D, murmuring. Is she really talking like that to him? Passenger in 3C. She doesn't recognize him. Flight attendant places her hands on her hips, growing more irritated. "Sir, you're holding up the boarding process. Show me your boarding pass, or I'll call security." Ibrahim Traoré, without raising his voice. "You may call who you need, but I will not leave my seat." Flight attendant laughs mockingly. "You're really pushing your luck. You think you can just sit anywhere because you're wearing a suit?" Passenger in 1A. "I can't believe this. This is going to blow up in her face." Second flight attendant approaches from the other side of the aisle. "What's the issue?" Flight attendant. "This man refuses to leave business class. Claims this is his seat." Second flight attendant, leaning over, whispering as she scans the boarding pass. "Wait, his name? Ibrahim Traoré?" Flight attendant. "Yes. And?" Second flight attendant pauses, eyes widening. "Oh my God. You didn't check the high-profile clearance list, did you?" Flight attendant. "Why would I?" Second flight attendant, interrupting, voice low and urgent. "He's not just a passenger. He's the president of Burkina Faso." Flight attendant steps back in shock, blinking. "What?" Passenger in 4B. Did she just realize who she insulted? Ibrahim Traoré sits still, hands folded. "You did not offend a president. You offended a man. And that alone should trouble you." Flight attendant. "Sir, Mr. President, I had no idea." But Ibrahim Traoré, voice firm now. "That is always the excuse. I didn't know." But why must respect be tied to recognition? The aircraft is completely silent. Passenger in 6D. "He said that like a king. Calm, but it hit like thunder." Captain appears at the cabin door, urgent. "Mr. President, please forgive the mismanagement. This should never have happened. Your identity was flagged late, protocol failed." Ibrahim Traoré. "I am not here for protocol. I am here for people." Flight attendant, now visibly shaken. "I didn't mean to." Ibrahim Traoré. "You meant what you said. That is why it must be addressed. You spoke from assumption. You acted from pride." Second flight attendant, softly, to her colleague. "Don't say anything else. Just listen." Passenger in 5C. The way he's speaking, he's not even trying to humiliate her. But this is hitting harder than any yelling ever could. Ibrahim Traoré. "You judged me by how I looked. By what seat you thought I deserved. But I ask you, when you saw me, what made you assume I belonged behind the curtain?" The flight attendant cannot answer. She looks down, silent. Ibrahim Traoré. Let this be a lesson. Not just for you. For every system that decides who is worthy of dignity based on status, skin, or suit. Captain, we're deeply sorry, Mr. President. We will make immediate adjustments. Ibrahim Traoré. Save the adjustments. Save the apologies. Save the embarrassment. What I want is something harder to give, change. The plane is still boarding. Yet not a single passenger speaks. The cabin is gripped in stillness. Ibrahim Traoré. I will not move seats. I will not request compensation. I will not use power to punish. But I will let this moment remain, for every person who has sat in the wrong section of life, simply because someone believed they didn't belong. Silence. Then one clap. Then two. Then 20. The cabin begins to applaud, not in celebration, but in awakening. Passenger in 3. He didn't raise his voice. But somehow, he changed the entire atmosphere of this plane. Ibrahim Traoré, turning to the window quietly. Part of leading Africa is not just in government. It is here, in places where the world pretends we don't matter. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Air Marshal, quietly stepping forward. Captain, we have a situation. Protocols from Ouagadougou have kicked in. We received a level 4 alert. The man in 2A is traveling under high security discretion. The French consulate just messaged, they're scrambling. Captain, I'm aware. The problem isn't just the protocol. It's what just happened in front of dozens of passengers. This flight just became global news, and it hasn't even taken off. Flight attendant, now pale, trembling. I didn't know. I swear. He didn't have an escort. No fanfare. Just walked in like. Second flight attendant, sternly. Like a man. Not a king. And you treated him like trash because of it. Passenger in 6B. What's happening now? They're talking to someone on the tarmac. Armed officials just arrived. Ground officer, radio crackling. Requesting confirmation. Is President Ibrahim Traoré safely on board Air Flight 732? Captain, responding. Confirmed. Situation is under control. We are dealing with an internal conduct breach. Ground officer. Copy that. French Interior Minister personally flagged his route. Discretion no longer optional. You are now under diplomatic supervision. Flight attendant, softly in shock. Diplomatic supervision? For him? Second flight attendant. He leads a nation. You just disrespected one of Africa's youngest and most fearless revolutionaries. You think this will stay on this plane? Ibrahim Traoré, still seated, speaking calmly. Let it stay or let it spread. It is no longer about me. Passenger in 2D. He's so calm, but everything feels like it's collapsing. Traoré, to the captain. I will not delay your flight. I insist it takes off. The journey is more important than the discomfort. Captain. Mr. President, you have the authority to ground this aircraft, request a private transfer, anything. Traoré. Then I exercise my authority by not using it. Let the world see that even a president can be spoken down to and still rise above it. Flight attendant, now nearly crying. Mr. President, I am sorry. I don't know what came over me. Traoré. It was never about me. It was about what you were trained to see. What your eyes were programmed to measure. What your respect waits for. A suit. A name? A skin tone that fits your comfort. Passenger IN4C murmurs. God, this man is different. Suddenly, a buzz passes through the cabin. Phones ping. News apps flash headlines. A breaking alert from a major French outlet reads. African president humiliated on commercial flight, unknown to crew, sparks global outrage. Gasps erupt. Passenger in 5. Wait, it's already hit the media. How? Passenger in 3B. It's gone viral in under 5 minutes. Someone must have recorded it. Passenger in 6D. Look at these comments. Disgusting treatment. Racism in the sky. He carried himself with dignity. This is huge. Ibrahim Traoré, leaning toward the window, whispering. I did not come to be known. I came to learn. But sometimes, being unknown reveals more than power ever could. Second flight attendant, now protective. Mr. President, from this moment on, you will not be addressed without dignity. Not on this plane. Not on any soil. A young black boy, no older than 10, stands up from row 7. He walks up to Traoré, hesitantly. Young boy. Sir, you're a president? Traoré smiles softly. Yes, I am. But more than that, I am a man from your continent. Just like you. Young boy. My dad said presidents don't fly like this. Traoré. Maybe they should. The boy smiles and returns to his seat. The cabin watches silently. Some begin to tear up. Passenger in 1C. They wanted to shrink him to a passenger. But he just became a legend. Traoré. I do not need anyone to kneel. But let this flight rise. Because today this vessel carries something more powerful than fuel. It carries truth. The aircraft lands. But the world is already wide awake. The moment President Ibrahim Traoré steps off the plane, the tarmac is no longer ordinary ground. It becomes a stage where global shame, quiet strength, and irreversible consequences will collide. French diplomatic security team, waiting at the terminal. Mr. President, we extend our deepest apologies. Traoré, raising a hand. Do not waste time with rehearsed remorse. I am not here for ceremony. Journalist, shouting. President Traoré, will you be taking legal action against the airline? Traoré, walking calmly. Why punish an airline when the sickness is in the air we breathe? Journalist 2. What message do you have for those who still believe status determines respect? Traoré pauses. Then let them remain prisoners of perception. Africa has no time to beg for dignity. As he walks through the terminal, a wall of flashing cameras follows. Crowds are gathering. African students in Europe, activists, diplomats, even airport workers have come just to witness him. Not as a president, but as a symbol. Woman in crowd, tears in her eyes. He walked through their contempt without shouting once. And they all folded. Man next to her. That wasn't a man on that plane. That was a continent wrapped in silence. Meanwhile, the airline's headquarters in Paris scrambles into damage control. A press conference begins. The CEO appears, pale, shaken, and heavily coached. Airline CEO. We deeply regret the incident involving President Ibrahim Traoré. The flight attendant has been suspended pending internal review. We are initiating new sensitivity training. We had no idea. Journalist interrupts. You didn't have to know who he was. You just had to treat him like a human being. Back at the hotel where Traoré is staying, a private diplomatic meeting is called. European ministers request to sit down. French Foreign Minister. Mr. President, please accept our sincerest regret. We recognize how this may have damaged trust. Traoré. I am not here for apologies. I am here for alignment. French Minister. Of course. Traoré, leaning in. Ask yourselves, if I had not been president, would anyone care? Silence. Traoré. If I were a student, or a worker, or a farmer from Burkina Faso, would this meeting even exist? Across the globe, news channels replay the footage of the confrontation. CNN anchor. Calm but devastating, Traoré's words are now being studied in leadership circles across the world. BBC World News. Africa's youngest military leader just taught Europe a lesson it will never forget, without raising his voice once. Al Jazeera. You did not offend a president. You offended a man. The line that shattered aviation arrogance and ignited a global reckoning. Then, something unprecedented happens. A video address from Ibrahim Traoré is released. He sits in a simple room. No flags. No military uniforms. No flashing medals. Just a chair and a microphone. Traoré, looking into camera. Respect should not be activated by power. It should live at the level of humanity. The flight attendant who spoke down to me was doing what the world trained her to do. See value in certain colors. See power in certain languages. And view African strength as a mistake. He pauses. I do not need to punish her. The world has already done that. But I will say this. If my people need to wear crowns to be seen, if they must carry wealth to be heard, then the world is blind. He continues. Traoré, to the young Africans watching, never forget. Silence is not weakness. Dignity is not bought. And power is not always loud. We will rise not when they approve of us, but when we stop needing them to. The video racks up 90 million views in 24 hours. The flight attendant's name trends worldwide. Petitions launch. Debates rage. Universities begin hosting forums titled, Leadership Without Loudness, the Traoré Doctrine. Meanwhile, in Ouagadougou, the people pour into the streets, not in protest, but in pride. Woman with Burkinabe flag. Our president didn't curse them. He carried us. Young man in crowd. They disrespected one man, but they awakened a continent. Back at the airport, 3 days later, Traoré prepares to return home. The very same flight number. The same route. But this time, the entire crew stands in a formation of silence and apology. The CEO is there in person. The new head flight attendant, carefully selected, bows respectfully. New flight attendant. Mr. President, your seat awaits. We are honored to have you. Treat the next passenger with the same tone. That is how you honor me. The aircraft door closes. The plane begins to roll. As it lifts into the sky, the world watches in stunned awe. Not because a leader demanded attention, but because a man taught the world how to rise, by sitting still. The end. Backhand index pointing right. Like, comment, share, subscribe. If this story lifted your spirit, let the world hear it. This was more than a flight, it was a moment in history.